Hey, what is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with a Famine Scourge video overview in regards to the best way to maximize the number of shards you can get for Rogue, as well as taking a look at some of the settings that I've utilized to go through. So every time that a player has maximized already all the yellow stars for Rogue, we are able to go through and actually get the awards here. And generally, I like to aim for the 1.5 million, hence me going through and reviewing to see what is going to be the best. So I was able to stop right before completing Note 10, but in this video, I want to show you guys, in regards to how I've attempted each node specifically, as well as the Scourges I've utilized. It won't be a breakdown video, guys, in regards to the playthrough, because I have made videos on that before, guys. So if you do need assistance with difficulty 5, difficulty 6, difficulty 7, I have made videos previously before. So what I'll do is I'll link it in the description below. And as well, nodes 5 and nodes 10 do have a specific strategy to it, and it can only be done pretty much with the Young Avengers. So I'm going to make sure that's linked below too for you guys in case you need to reference it. Otherwise, let's get this party started. What are some of the best Scourges to utilize to maximize your guys' score, especially if you want to coast through and get an easy 1.5 million being in the end game? Keep in mind too, these Scourge settings is what allowed me to hit 1.5 million for difficulty 8. However, if you guys modify your difficulty level, these are still Scourges that I would recommend. It's just your point differential will be obviously lower because of the differences in Scourges being utilized, but as well as the difficulty levels. So feel free to adjust accordingly. These were some of the best that I saw. And then as well, on top of that, what I'm going to go through is show you each of my attempts for each of the nodes. So that way you can get a sense of a sample team that I've attempted and allowed me to get through this. So overall, difficulty 8, 1.5 million. This took me about 20-25 minutes to get through because there was some trial and error as my videos before I've utilized different teams. So definitely want to showcase for you guys some of the newer teams that seem to be doing better and some that still stay the same to be their effectiveness. Let's get right into it, guys. So popping this on the top left here, these are the Scourges I recommend right now if you want a overall painless experience in terms of some things that we can get away with to maximize the number of points and that balance, right? Obviously, the enemies do get stronger and so forth, but there's going to be a balancing act. You have to adjust accordingly to see what works for your roster. This is what seemed to be giving me a pretty smooth experience, but again, my guys are pretty powerful, so this still allowed me to be able to go push through it quite easily. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the very bottom because some of these Scourges on the bottom are the ones that you should be applying as we work our way from bottom up to all the way to the very top, just because there's more weight at the points weight in these ones. So starting off here, guys, stay down. This one really impacts the Dormammu's ability, so that's why it's a big one to add in right away. I believe it's one of the highest points that you can add to the Scourge total. We got Vile's Resurgence here on enemy turn where they gain offense up. I didn't see it being too big of an issue, especially if your guys are built up. However, keep in mind, if your team is squishier, you may want to adjust accordingly if you feel that each node they're hitting quite hard. Enemies also gain 20% drain. I didn't see an issue there. Player character ultimate abilities do cost 1 more energy. That's okay, so as long as you're playing it right and attacking the right order. Player character healing is reduced by 20%. Didn't feel it at all. Whenever a player character does gain ability energy, apply defense down. There's only so many instances that our teams generate energy, so that's why this is a really good one to take advantage of. We have not so fast. When a player character gains ability energy, apply slow. Same thing as poisoned energy, right? Devil's Bargain, when a player character gains ability energy, they also gain defense down again. So all these ones kind of stack up. Devil's Bargain, not so fast, poison energy. So you really want to avoid characters that generate energy, obviously. But at the end of the day, there's only so many characters that can do that, hence the value that we get. And lastly, enemies gaining 5% drain on the power siphon, giving us a net total of 136 Scourges. And again, guys, it was pretty smooth for myself. Feel free to adjust accordingly. Again, the big one I think kind of red flagish is the Vile Resurgence, depending on how squishy your team is. Otherwise, everything was pretty fair game in my experience overall. That sets aside the Scourge points, giving us a net total here of 1.38 million, so almost 1.5. I didn't finish Note 10, so that way I can show you the attack history, because there are some specific ones that you guys should be mindful of going through each experience. So, I haven't done the Famine Scourge in so long, so it was nice to get a refresher in terms of some of the notes that were the pain points. In recent memory, I do gotta say that Mission 1 and Mission 2 requiring city characters, definitely one of the more harder nodes in my honest opinion, because the city character selections aren't always the best, and there isn't a full team that's city based that has great synergy that's in the setting, right? So more specifically, web warriors are really good, but not outside of a raid setting, so that's why it's a little bit more difficult when we have the city traits required. But as you guys can see here, I highly recommend a SAC team first. So my attack 1, I just threw him a random cluster because they need to soak up damage from the enemies that are up against us. There's a burst wave, and it's going to be a similar trend that we see with a lot of nodes, guys. But afterwards, after you throw in the sacrificial team, whoever that may be, to sponge up some of the attacks, what worked for me was Squirrel Girl, Ghost Spider, Shang-Chi, Cloak and Dagger. Absolutely wiped the floor with the enemies. But funny thing is, if you start off with these 5 well to sack, it just is extremely brutal to go through. So the importance of a sacrificial team to bring them in, soak up the attacks, and then bring up your actual A team is absolutely huge, guys. I cannot stress that enough. Similar story actually with Node 2. Node 2, I did try with the same team, great synergy, but then again, they have this initial burst that comes out at you with the damage. So throwing in another sacrificial team, I just threw in whoever was left. I got, you know, Iron Fist, Misty Knight, Morbius, so forth. I just threw whoever I had available, and again, the exact same team as before, cleaning up, making short work. That's my only recommendation, guys. I wouldn't recommend you know, the web warriors or symbiotes, just because of the fact that they just don't have enough sustain. You could get away obviously with I believe one of the nodes did have a Hela, and you can take advantage of the speed up. I think it was node 2, but again, there's an initial burst in the beginning that you need to be wary of. And if you guys aren't sure, again, my videos linked below do have the full playthrough if you guys wanted to see that before you actually attempt the node. That pretty much covers nodes 1, nodes 2. Otherwise, node 3, guys, very smooth. This is the newly revised one that I used. Previously, before, it can be done with Astonishing X-Men. However, now that we have the full Unlimited X-Men team available for us, especially with Rogue now being run multiple times with the Famine Scourge, hopefully you guys have all these characters available, because this team is absolutely devastating now that we can utilize them for the specific Scourge. If you don't have Rogue, I can still do it through the Astonishing X-Men. Again, it's in my link below video, so that way you have it for reference. But they're still a viable team, but the best true team for mutants is definitely the Unlimited X-Men team here. They're really designed for these nodes, and especially the combination of Rogue and Gambit. And that said, Mission 4, very similar. If you guys have Unlimited X-Men, it can be done in one shot, no sacrifices needed. I believe in my first attempt that I ever did this, the Astonishing X-Men, I did need a sacrificial team to go through because there is burst, but because of how effective the Unlimited X-Men team are, they can sponge it all and actually go beyond that. So that's the first 4 nodes, guys. This is where things can start getting a little harder again, because I don't think A-Force or Inhumans are actually just a viable team at all, specifically for the Famine Scourge. It has to be the Young Avengers. So with this one, I found that it was a little bit tricky in the beginning with the burst that was coming at us, so threw in some random guys, again, soaking up damage. Afterwards, you still needed some RNG to get the right impact, and what I mean by that is there's some initial burst with Taskmaster, Hela that's bursting down, and you need to make sure that those attacks are gone by the time you enter in with the Young Avengers. And once they get going with their RNG and blinding, especially having Kate Bishop and Echo's damage, they just do some really beautiful work in this node. Unfortunately, the Young Avengers are pretty much required to get through the Famine Scourge. Otherwise, the other attempt you can go through to maximize shards would be raising the Scourge settings and just going through the first 4 nodes without Young Avengers. But otherwise, if you don't have them, it's really hard to get through the Famine Scourge, guys. I can't stress that enough. So that's Mission 5 right there. Easy cleanup after the initial sack. We got Mission 6 here, pretty smooth. If you have the villains nodes, these are some of the smoothest nodes in the game, especially some of the characters that we have. Morgan Le Fay should be accessible. If you haven't unlocked Doctor Doom, so as long as you have Omega Red, Agatha Harkness, Doctor Strange Heartless, all very good characters. Ebony Maw has great support. As well, I think you can utilize Thanos for energy supplementation. Villains has quite a few generous characters in here, and you should have no issue there. I didn't feel it being difficult whatsoever. Similar story with Mission 7, the exact same synergy and team, and we just went through and we completely rocked that. Mission 8, Mission 9, this is where it does get a little trickier because there's only so many Cosmic Mystic characters that you can utilize, but as well, some of these attempts did actually have an initial burst, kind of similar to what we saw with the first 2 nodes as well. So you do need to bring in a sacrificial team. Again, they don't need to be strong because they're literally just soaking up damage. Then easy cleanup. You know, honestly, with this mixture here, Surfer, Deadpool, as well as Icarus, Cersei, Hela, the 2 most important ones are Cersei and Icarus, just because of their synergy and the amount of damage they're going to bring. Everybody else is pretty much a supportive cast. What I will say though, guys, is in this node attempt, make sure you save up Icarus's ultimate. You do not want to use it in this node because it's a perfect setup actually in the next node. And you'll see why, because the next node does have a Nick Fury that summons minions, and right from the get-go you can use Icarus, his ultimate, pretty much to wipe out the entire wave. So that's why it's important not to waste his ultimate here. I like the combination of Silver Surfer and Hela because he can ability block and then followed up with a Hela's turn to spread it all. So that makes it a very easy Mission 8 if you guys are able to utilize that combination. And Deadpool, she's going to be required for Apocalypse, so a really good addition here if you guys can utilize her. Mission 9 here, very smooth. Like I said, if you have Eternals and you have Icarus and Cersei ready to go from the beginning, it really doesn't matter who's around them. Those 2 are going to be doing the bulk of the work. And then last but not least, guys, I already made a video on Mission 10. I'm going to link that below. But Young Avengers, the substitution of America Chavez for Miles Morales, being a fellow web warrior, is going to be the go-to team. I believe with this node, though, there does need to be a sack attempt in the beginning if there's a lot of burst damage. But, you know, like I said, I already made the video on that if you guys are curious there, just to watch it and get that strategy overall. There you guys have it, my 1.5 million run with the detailed attempts there. Hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully you have the similar teams. And again, keep in mind these Scourges are really good. You can still bring down your difficulty, and I think they're going to be a really great balance in terms of adjusting and then what you need in terms of ultimately maximizing your points. There you guys have it. Good luck in your rogue unlock or furthering her shards. Thank you as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.